for me, there's an epidemic of like loneliness and disconnectedness. I think it's a serious issue, and the only people who are speaking to them are
Jordan
the
Peterson,
Logan Pauls, the Aiden Rosses.
They find these role models online who are teaching them that women should be subordinate to men. As a man, your worth is measured by your bank account, what car you drive. And it's really obvious and clear now that that cultural shift has now translated into a political realignment, which is just insane. Friends, if you have a second or two, click like, comment down below. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy the video. Longtime viewers of the channel are aware that I am a huge fan of chess, which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, AnnieChess.com. This is a variation of chess that is being developed alongside chess.com, another organization that I've done partnerships with in the past. What's unique about this kind of chess is the introduction of spells. Each turn you take adds 1 mana to your pool, and you can use that mana to cast spells during the game. They've recently launched the alpha version of the game that you can now get exclusive access to using code Hutch. There is a link down in the description below. If you click it, it'll take you to the site. I played it for a couple days now. It is a lot of fun. If you're a fan of chess and you want to experience a new way to play it, check it out. We'll take a couple more here. Hello there. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey, all I can see for your name is...
Is it echoing?
No, you're good. All I can see for your name is K. What's your name?
Oh, Mike. You can call me Mike.
Mike, what do you want to talk about today?
So I thought I'm a longtime lurker of your Twitter. I followed you for a long time. I love your politics and all that. I just never really interact, but I thought I could offer some perspective for people on the Latino side of things. I'm 39. I'm Latino. I'm from Los Angeles, like lifelong liberal and all that. And I've seen this shift in family members in my community. Like I've seen it over the past 10 years. And I think one thing that I know for sure is the Republicans, like they smartened up this time, because I do think Latinos are naturally more conservative because of like a religious background, and like my family is all deeply Catholic, and they really connect with the social issues side of things. We're Republicans. So I don't think that this is like an anomaly. I think that this is something that in the future it might keep getting bigger and bigger. I don't know if you see those same things too, but.
Well, my fiance is daughter of immigrants. She's Latina, and but we don't really spend a lot of time with her family. So like, I can't really speak to like any kind of shifts. Like when you say you've watched it kind of unfold over the last 10 years, what are some of the signs that you've seen sort of along the way? Like how did the rhetoric evolve? So was it, 2 years into Trump, they didn't like him, but then 4 years they were like kind of curious about him, and then 6 years they were kind of defending him, and then it's 8. How did that evolve over time?
I think particularly in the last 2 years, like you mentioned before, the red pill movement, I think that speaks to a lot, like the masculinity, the machismo for young Latino men. That's one. I think for older people, I've seen it in my aunts and uncles where they see, like, now that they're on Facebook, they're on TikTok all the time. So like I've seen it in my mom where she gets fed this propaganda all the time. She's in the loop of this whole like trans kids and like what they're doing to kids in schools, and like she takes it all at face value, So then that she's really against that from a religious perspective. And then we'll argue about it, and I'll be like, no, you can't believe all those things. That's not true. And she's like, well, my favorite podcaster said that it's true, like, and she'll listen to things in Spanish about those things. So that's where I've seen those issues start changing them over time, and be like, oh, these Democrats are crazy. Like, well, what the hell are they thinking? Like they're taking the kids and they're making them trans, and they're letting them, so all those things, like that propaganda has been infecting the older generation, and the younger generation with the red pill movement has been shifting that way too.
I think what you're saying is true, and it's insane when you think about the examples of what people might call sexual degeneracy on the right-wing side of things. Like people forget, but in 2022 there was Arizona politician running for local office who got caught masturbating right next to a preschool. and he was arrested. And the cop walked up and was like, dude, seriously? And the guy said, oh, sorry, I'm having a stressful day. And if that would have been a trans person that got caught masturbating next to a preschool, that would have made the rounds on libs of TikTok.
Oh,
Rogan would have been talking about it. Lex would have been talking about it. Theo Vaughn would have been talking about it. Tim Pool would have been talking about it. Matt Walsh would have been talking about. Ben Shapiro would have been talking about. Steven Crowder would have been talking about. It would have reached hundreds of millions of people if that was a trans person masturbating next to a preschool. But it was a local Republican politician who got caught doing that. There was another story that came out just this last week, and it seems to be like there's a new story like this every week, where this church leader in some state that I'm not, I don't remember, he was caught abusing children. And these stories don't get any traction in right-wing circles. But and you can find examples of people, for example, kind of like going too far at a pride parade or whatever. And like there's some footage that I see of like parents taking their kids to some pride events where I'm like, what the but like that like those examples are people's on the fringe. And what the right wing is so good at doing is presenting those people who do not exist in large numbers. 999,000 parents out of 100,000 would not take their kid to an event like that. And what the right wing is so good at doing is taking those fringe people and then presenting them as though they represent like the median liberal or the median progressive.
And that's the big problem. They paint everybody with the same brush, broad strokes. So what do you think there's any way to get through to people like your mom or no? Well, I mean, like I know, like between me and my mom, we have constant conversations, and I have those open conversations with her, and like I know that I kind of temper some of those things, and I think that's the only way to do it is for people to keep having communication with their family members, because like you said too, like some of those things I don't like it either, like it's not like I'm like, why did those parents take those kids to that event? That doesn't make any sense to me. But that doesn't, exactly what you said, like doesn't mean that
they take that and they say, see what the liberals are doing, and it's like, wait, what the like I would not make that choice if I was a parent.
Exactly. And then the other part with the red pill thing, and you just mentioned it right before it came on, was like you kind of treated it with mockery. And that's been a big thing for me because like I was like, I've always been a technology person too. I was always into my video games. So I was kind of that disconnected teenager before, and now it's like a mass thing where Gen Z is really disconnected. And I've been really disheartened by my fellow liberals and how they've like cast aside these young boys, because they have, for me, there's an epidemic of like loneliness and disconnectedness. And I think it's a serious issue. And the only people who are speaking to them are
Jordan Peterson,
the Logan Pauls, the Aiden Rosses,
Yeah, it's a balancing act, because like me on my good days, I'm like on a spiritual path, so when people are acting out and acting like really ugly to other human beings, if I'm having a bad day, like I'll want to just lay into that person, just rip into them. And if I'm having like a good day, I'm on my spiritual path, I'm like, I want to ask like, okay, what's underneath that? Like, where's that pain coming from, where they feel the need to lash out like that? And I feel like that latter thing is required right now, but the environment online is so hostile. And like, I've been a part of that. Like it's about like dunks, like social media dunks, to get like as many likes on Twitter as you can by making fun of incel types and red pill types. And I don't know, it's like a balancing act, because I do think you need to be really aggressive, I feel like you do need to like push back against that stuff, but I don't know.
It's so hard to balance because the way I always see it too, so it's like, I was a teacher 10 years ago, so I worked with kids. And I always think of it from that perspective of like, when I see an incel online, I'm thinking of them as a full grown adult, as a man. And then I can criticize you because you're a man. But a lot of these are probably teenagers or younger who are impressionable, or even the ones who are 18 now and voted right now, just 4 years ago, last election, they were kids. And so like I got to think about them from how they've been influenced by all these things over the past couple of years, and try to see it from the God's eye view instead of just this one dick online who's being a dick to everybody and who's saying all these horrible things. But I think people have to start being more sensitive to like, why are they that way? How did they get that way? Where did that come from? And I think that's
kind
something
of
that's like
that kind of systemic problem is really difficult to address, because we're talking about, we're talking about like, how do you, like, ideally you would make it so that these young men had positive role models in their lives that show them that they can be masculine and vulnerable, that they can be strong and compassionate. There seems to be a complete there's like we're bankrupt of that right now. And so these people find these role models online who are teaching them that women should be subordinate to men, and as a man your worth is devalued, is measured by your your bank account, what car you drive, and it's really obvious and clear now that that cultural shift has now translated into a political realignment, which is just insane.
And I don't know how to get those people back. That's or I don't know even if that's the goal, but it is definitely like it was a wake up call, because as I saw the numbers coming in, and you see like, well, young men are voting, they're coming in droves, and they're voting, and I was just like, oh man, like it's almost like I knew it in my head before, but it just became so blatantly obvious as the numbers were coming in. It was like, of course they did, because Trump was on Aiden Ross, Trump talked to Rogan, and it's like, of course they can, because those are the people who are speaking to them.
It shocked me, and in retrospect, I feel stupid for being shocked. I feel like I should have seen this coming, but it was shocking to see those numbers. Anyways, it's good to talk to you. I'm glad you came on. Appreciate you sharing your insight.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take it easy.
You too.